Once again, here's the referee in charge, Jerry McKenzie.
Okay, guys. Okay, you've had your instructions in the dressing room. Does this corner have any questions? Does this corner have any questions? Do you have any questions? Do you have any questions?
No questions.
Give me a good clean bout. Protect yourself at all times.
I guess there weren't any questions. They are ready to fight. I think Reggie Johnson has more coaches in his corner than an NFL football team. And he looks across. The stare down continues. Reggie Johnson, the champion, stares across at the challenger Lamar Parks. And you could see some of the footwork right off the bat from Johnson.
That is one of the benefits of fighting at home. You get all the people in your corner. But Lamar Parks knows he's not going to have to fight this crowd. He knows he's not going to have to fight that corner. And in this match, he just wants to go out and take care of business. You can already see in this opening round, the Southpaw is the champion, Reggie Johnson, trying to establish that right jab.
Reggie Johnson is the other middleweight champion. James Toney, the IBF. Julian Jackson of the WBC. Reggie Johnson, somewhat of an unknown quantity, and comes into this fight as the champion in his hometown and an 8-5 underdog. And Reggie Johnson wants to become a known middleweight champion. He wanted to fight Roy Jones in his first defense, but Parks was the #1 contender and refused to step aside. And if I was Parks, I would have refused to step aside too.
Yes. Well, he would refuse to step aside because if he fights Roy Jones Jr., he wants to fight him as the champion. And there's an old saying in boxing, the challenger must go out and take the title away from the champion. If you have a big fight and you fight him as the champion, you have a little bit of an advantage. He was offered $50,000 just to step aside. Lamar Parks was, and he said no way.
Well, Parks at just the tender age of 22, he's won all 22 of his pro fights, and he has his crack. He feels if I have a crack at a middleweight championship, well, maybe to him Reggie Johnson is more unknown than the James Toney and Julian Jackson. This is the crack that I want. First round action is scheduled for 12. Reggie Johnson, who won the championship in April against Stevie Collins, and that was the last time he has fought. His first defense comes at home against Lamar Parks, the #1 contender. Parks takes a slapping right hand. And Parks so far in this first round, very controlled, very patient, not looking to overslug, which could get him in trouble with the savvy Reggie Johnson.
One of the things that I was very concerned about coming into this match was that Parks would go out and blow everything that he had in the first few rounds. It appears as though he is quite patient in this opening round. You get so fired up, so excited for a big fight, and this one for everything, for all the marbles, for the championship of the world. You want to go out and you want to do the very best that you can. Sometimes that works in your disadvantage.
Inside 10 seconds left in round #1. Parks hearing from his dad, his trainer, David.
Run the combination. 2-3 way. Okay, now get up now. Get up. Get up. Now get off of these first. These first.
Well, he should be very proud. A good opening round for Lamar Parks. David Parks said that his son Lamar is his best friend. He said we used to study together after school. After the studying was over, then we would pack our bags and go to the gym every day.
Well, they are looking to join Pat and Sean O'Grady and Floyd Patterson and Tracy. Father-son combination, world champions. But David Parks doesn't want Lamar to sit back. Wants him to get off first. Wants to see him a little more aggressive. His son, one of the devastating punchers. His last opponent, Jose Lopez, who went down in 1 round, said that Lamar punches like a mule. I just wonder if that's based on first-hand experience. If it is, I think he needs a new matchmaker.
First experience, Al. He said in that fight that he threw probing shots just to see how Lopez would react. Then he finally wobbled him with one of the probing shots. Then he decided to close it. So this is a kid who Lamar can turn it up when he needs it or turn it down. And as he showed us that in the opening round.
Parks does not have the experience against the top fighters as does Reggie Johnson, but Parks kind of poo-poos it. He says, hey, Johnson has fought who? Toney and Steve Collins. But that's just it.
That's a good point, but that is why, in my estimation, Johnson has a little bit of an edge. He has a little bit of an advantage. To get into that upper echelon of any division, you have to fight somebody that's in there already. Reggie Johnson has already fought people in that upper division. Lamar Parks has not.
Oh, Johnson catches Lamar Parks on the rebound after Parks had swirled and slipped. Well, actually, that's 2 more championship fights than Parks has fought, world championships. Parks, former USBA and NABF champ, and 24 rounds. So Johnson knows what this whole atmosphere feels like, and Parks now in the backyard of the champion, fighting for the first time for a world championship. But now Parks trying to pick up the pace here in round number 2 with less than a minute to go. Both great amateurs. Parks 175 wins against 13 losses, 5 South Carolina Golden Gloves championships. Reggie Johnson, who lost his first 4 amateur fights, didn't turn him away from boxing, went on to win 96 of his next 104, went all the way to the Olympic trials in '84 before he lost to another Houston fighter, Frank Tate, the eventual gold medalist.
And he is a very determined person. He said way back then when he first started boxing, he said, I can someday be the world champion. He lost those first 4, then he finally won one. He said, hey, I like this. I don't want to lose anymore. It's no fun to lose. The problem that you have when fighting the left-handed fighters is your front feet continually get tangled up. There's a good look at how those front toes get webbed into one another. Here's a look at it overhead. See how Parks is stepping on the toe of Johnson? Now, you can use that to your advantage. You step on your opponent's toe, and then you hit him, and sometimes the referee will think it's a good shot, and the judges think it's a good shot, and they think he's staggered. But you have to be careful that he's not doing that back to you.
Lamar Parks is in there against one of the better conditioned fighters in the gym, Reggie Johnson, all business. Likes to think of himself as perpetual motion in the ring. Making his first title defense against the frisky Lamar Parks, who is a very entertaining fighter. He goes in there to take out his opponent, has a killer instinct that has resulted in 18 knockouts in his 22 straight wins as a pro.
Very entertaining, and look at this strength here in the 3rd round from him. Look at the upper body strength. He is trying to muscle around Johnson in this round, and that could be a problem later in this fight, provided it goes later.
Lamar Parks, in studying some tapes of Reggie Johnson, says that Johnson, during the course of a fight, leaves himself open, and perhaps that is a reason why Parks has been so patient. In his last fight against Percy Harris, another cagey veteran who gave Parks a lot of trouble, Parks thought that that's where he got his most experience. He got hit by Harris. He said he got hurt, but he came back very strong. But in that fight, he got hit a lot because he was looking for the big punch. And he took a lot of punishment trying to land the big blow. He got careless.
Oh, you can get so tied up in reading the headlines. He said that he learned in that fight that he should have cut off the ring more and go down to the body more. Those body shots will take it out of your opponent for those later rounds.
Inside the final minute of round number 3.
Lamar Parks has fought only one other southpaw as a pro, that Chris Sandy back in April of '90. He said, I can fight better going backwards, and that's the way that he won that fight. Chris Sandy, incidentally, is a former stablemate of Reggie Johnson. Now, there's what Johnson needs to get going. Get that right jab going, and then move to your right. Against the left-handed fighters, a right-hander will have to continually reset. See how Johnson gets behind him now. You can't throw your right hand because it won't reach. You have to reset that back foot to throw the right hand, and when you do, your opponent's gone. He's around behind you.
Okay, so why is it the only thing we have?
From the roof cam here at the Summit in Houston, Texas.
That's a great shot when you're talking about Southpaw fighters, because you can see how their front feet commingle, how the front feet continue to meet. There it is, again, stepping on each other's toes. You've got to be careful of. That is so hard to break out of the habit of. When you're fighting a left-hander, if you can step to the side more and not right straight ahead, you'll miss their foot. Good combinations, both of them, hard shots. Parks is really putting his shoulders into these punches.
Johnson staying, Sean, in punching range for Parks.
Right, but he continues to move, and he's doing so for a wise reason. He realizes early in the fight, Parks is going to be stronger.
Reggie Johnson taking some big punches. He has never been stopped in a fight. He has been down twice in a couple of his USBA fights against Ismael Negron. He later came back and stopped Negron in the 11th. Went on to win the USBA title. Then he had 3 defenses over the course of 4 months. And he was down against Eddie Hall in his final defense, coming back to stop Hall in the 10th round.
And he said in that Negron fight, he got hit with a sneak right hand. Against the left-handed fighters, they're susceptible to a straight right and a left hook because of the way they stand. And that worked for Negron that day. You talked about the Steve Collins fight. Funny thing happened in that match. He said that the promoter did not want to have the fight in Ireland with Collins because of the Irish crowd. He was afraid that it would turn hostile and he'd be a hostile environment. So they decided to bring the fight to New Jersey. Well, Reggie says that there were more Irish people in New Jersey than there were in Ireland.
So why don't you fight there more?
He says it's like they took Ireland and put it in Rutherford, East Rutherford, New Jersey. Heavy shots. Now Reggie is setting down more on his punches. The first 3 rounds, he told me, those are throwaway rounds. So professional boxing doesn't start until the 4th. And here we are in the 4th.
Johnson feels he should own 2/3 of the middleweight crown. He does own the WBA and the victory over Collins. And then the controversial split decision loss to James Toney back in June of '91, in which Johnson had Toney down in the 2nd round. His only other loss was back in his 7th fight when it was all getting started against a guy by the name of Adam George. The only 2 losses for Johnson.
Can you imagine what it's like to serve wine at a political...
Round number 5, the WBA Middleweight Championship. The Summit in Houston, Texas. Reggie Johnson, the champion in the weight, fighting before the hometown crowd against Lamar Parks, the undefeated youngster. And he takes a vicious left by Johnson, who sneaks in and sneaks out. Johnson 31-2-1 with 20 KOs. Parks 22-0 with 18 knockouts. And now Reggie Johnson getting a little more fluid, showing some back and forth movement. He brings the experience in the ring. Parks in his last fight, a tough one against Percy Harris, was bothered by the jab and the boxing ability and the combinations by Harris. But he wore Harris down and came on to stop him in the 10th.
Yeah, hold it, come on.
Good punches by Reggie Johnson in this round. But these punches are waking up Lamar Parks, too. He came out slow at the opening part of this round. Now he's finally getting going in this round. You know, you try to go out and you establish the control for that round. You tell your opponent you're the boss, and you do that in the first 30 seconds.
Lamar Parks showing great patience.
Good combination, and then movement. Look at this. From Reggie goes in, he scores, good combination, and then he moves. It's so hard to retaliate with fighters like that. Found a home for that straight left. Now Lamar has got to turn this around. Lamar's got to get back to that left jab.
Maybe
See, now it's hard to use that left jab because of the jab of Reggie's. Reggie blocks your jab with his own.
And now the swings by Lamar Parks.
And here's what Lamar should not be doing, following around Reggie. What his dad, David, asked him to do between rounds is say, bring Reggie to our corner. Bring him over here to this side of the ring. He said, you've been following him around the whole fight. That's the way to do that. You get in, you score a good combination, and then he has to retaliate. Now, you come bring him into your den. You make him come back to you.
Johnson tastes the straight right from Lamar Parks.
Good right hand.
Lamar has been stalking most of the fight, and there are the quick hands that I would think his corner would like to see a little more about this time. 5th round scheduled for 12, this championship fight.
When fighting left-handers, you think too much. You think about the punches that will work instead of throwing them, and that's where you get caught. You stand there and pose, and they nail you. They're used to fighting the right-handed fighters. You're not used to fighting the left-handers.
Al Albert along with the champ Sean O'Grady. USA's Tuesday night fights, the WBA Middleweight Championship in the spotlight tonight, right here in our main event. Round number 6, the champion is in the white, Reggie Johnson, 31-2-1 with 20 knockouts. And he won the title 6 months ago, beating Steve Collins, making his first defense tonight. He goes up against the 22-year-old youngster Lamar Parks at Greenville, South Carolina, who is undefeated in 22 fights with 18 knockouts. Reggie Johnson, right here from Houston, 26 years old.
And some good combinations by Parks. His dad between rounds told him, you've got to let go with those uppercuts. And already in this round, I've seen 4 uppercuts from Lamar. You have to rely on your corner to tell you the mistakes that your opponent's making. You can't see them.
In the Toney fight and the Collins fight, there was a tendency of Reggie Johnson to let up somewhere in the fight, which could be dangerous against a power puncher like Lamar Parks. He has not let up yet tonight.
Again, that overhead shot. See how close those front feet are? You got to be careful of that. And there's the good movement by Reggie, going around behind Lamar Parks. If he can get around behind Parks and then score with the right hook, oh, those are so obnoxious. Those punches get you in the side of the head. You don't know where they're coming from. You get confused. And then they pop you with a straight left.
I would say obnoxious and painful.
No,
combination.
No, you're too busy. You're thinking. These punches don't hurt. You're too busy thinking. It'll hurt tomorrow. The first day post-fight is bad. The second day is worse. And then you usually get better.
In Parks' 22 fights, he has gone 10 rounds or more on 4 occasions. None of the other fights has he gone past the 5th. So here he goes into round number 6. And another advantage, you would think, for Reggie Johnson taking this fight longer. Johnson has gone 12 rounds 4 times. Parks once.
And now Johnson trying to slow it down just a notch, trying to slow Lamar down, then he can fire quick combinations. He's settling down, he's flat-footed, he's tying up, he's trying to slow the tempo down to his speed, and then he'll probably come up with a good, big, quick, fast combination.
And Lamar Parks' dad, David, in the corner, wants a few more combinations from his youngster. 5 seconds left in the 6th, the halfway mark in this title fight.
It's a little confusing to throw a jab against the opposite side fighters, those left-handed fighters, but you can get them in. You have to keep throwing them. Get your opponent to watching that left jab, even if it misses, even if you hit his glove, and then you can crack him with the right hand.
Join us ringside here at the Summit in Houston, Texas. It's the champion in the white who is the underdog. 8-5 underdog. Reggie Johnson, 2. The challenger, Lamar Parks. And why do you think he's the underdog?
Well, they take a look at Lamar Parks' record. They take a look at his background, his history. They take a look at the people surrounding him. You know, he's got Madison Square Garden as his promoter. I mean, these people are all great people in the sport of boxing, good quality names. Plus, he comes, you know, he's had several fights in New York. The Garden is in New York. He's really, they have been so impressed with him, they've been able to convince other people.
So in other words, they're more impressed with Parks, even though he hasn't had the championship experience that
they realize the potential in this kid. And you know, there is a lot of potential in this kid. When you look at him, he's doing a terrific job in there tonight.
Cool tonight, Lamar Parks. He won his first fight in a decision, then 13 straight knockouts before he stepped in against a spoiler. Gennady McCallum went 10 rounds. He then went 10 rounds with Lester Yarbrough and 12 rounds with Lindsey Morgan. Since that time, he's reeled off another 5 straight knockouts, including KOs over Don Giron and the one over Percy Harris. So 18 knockouts, 22 wins, 22 fights for the 22-year-old Lamar Parks.
And he says, I'm still learning as a fighter. Even in this fight tonight, he is expecting to learn.
If he wins this one, does it set up a head-to-head with Roy Jones? Well, if it does, Roy Jones and Lamar Parks kind of grew up in the amateurs together. Oh, and there's a big shot by Parks and follows it up. And we'll see if now he takes advantage. No, says Reggie Johnson. Don't sweat it. He signals to his Houston faithful.
No means yes in boxing.
And Parks trying to pick up the pace now, chasing Johnson. But Parks and Roy Jones, pretty good friends. Both trained by their fathers. Roy, of course, no longer, but in the amateurs, the fathers knew each other very well. So I don't know if you'll see a fight right away. Now it is Johnson who comes from the hips with those shots. And this one just warming up after 7. Budweiser, the king of beers, bringing you Tuesday night fights on USA. 7 rounds down. Let's go into the corner of the champion, Reggie Johnson. Listening to Joe Goosen.
On the box at the beginning of the round, but start putting the pressure on him a little bit. He is starting to wear down, and you are landing the big shots when you're coming forward, okay? You hear me, Reg? Okay. So give him the, give him the... You all right, Chuck? Give your arm, baby. You hear me though, Reg?
And now let's go across the ring. David Parks right in the face of his son.
You're not gonna get there, and then you land your food, and you let him come back on you like he did with Percy Harris. Get up and let 6 or 7 at a time, and get up and do it again. Keep doing it. You gotta keep doing it. You can't.
Seem to be a little more satisfied in the Reggie Johnson corner.
Well, here is some more of Lamar Parks scoring. I really don't know what he's upset about. You know, you're getting a lot of heat out there in the middle of the ring, not to get thrown on the griddle when you come back to your own corner. You know, I think Lamar's doing a terrific job, but here he's coming out with more intent. Now, this could play into the hands of Reggie Johnson. If Reggie can use it to his advantage now, you get your opponent running after you, then you can nail him.
Joe Goosen saying to Reggie Johnson that he thinks Lamar Parks is wearing down. Do you see that at all?
Not yet. Not yet. He may be worn down by the 13th round, but this one's only scheduled for 12. You know, I would think there would be more concern over in that corner. Joe Goosen perhaps now needs to start saying, you got to get fired up. You got to get with this program, Reggie. Come on, Reggie, slap him around a little bit, motivate him. That's one of the great things about Lou Duva. Great corner man, because he's such a terrific motivator. He can really fire you up. He can turn you up or turn you out.
Reggie Johnson, who began boxing at the Salvation Army Boys Club of Houston. He grew up in the dangerous 5th Ward section here in Houston, same area George Foreman is from. And Johnson said, most of the guys I grew up with either went to jail, messed up their lives with drugs, or are dead. He said he made it out. He was one of the fortunate ones. As a matter of fact, on the bottom of your trunks the trunks of Johnson, you may see the name Rodney Baker, one of his friends who did not make it out.
Promising 24-year-old heavyweight from right here in Houston, stablemate.
A shot and kill. And this fight dedicated by Reggie Johnson to his friend. 1 minute to go in the 8th round. WBA Middleweight Championship scheduled for 12. Watch the head, says referee Jerry McKenzie from Dallas. If this one goes to the cards, the judges come from Nova Scotia, Canada, San Antonio, Texas, and Brick, New Jersey. Hubert Earl from Nova Scotia, Rafael Ramos from San Antonio, and Richard Strange from Bricktown.
When you're fighting a good hitter, a good puncher like Lamar Parks is, if you're Reggie Johnson, you got to be busy in there. You got to throw many more punches to try to steal these rounds. You can't allow for him to sit there and wait and throw the heavy shots.
The aggressor now is the challenger, Lamar Parks, as we will pause for this word from your local cable sponsors. Peering down into this ring that holds two fighters vying for the middleweight championship. The champion in the white, Reggie Johnson. The challenger in the red, Lamar Parks. And now timeout is called. The problem with the tape of the champion. Sean, 8 rounds down, possible 4 to go. How do you see this one developing on the Sean O'Grady official, unofficial scorecard?
Well, I would hate to jinx anybody, but I tell you, I've got Parks ahead. This is not the same Reggie Johnson that we've seen in the past. He is not busy. He's allowing for Lamar Parks to set the pace of this fight. Parks is the aggressor. He's landing the heavier blows. And Reggie Johnson is just not busy. There's another time. You know, when you sweat, you get that sweat on that tape on your gloves. It just comes loose.
It's contagious. Well, we know we're in Reggie Johnson's hometown. The crowd boos when it happens to Parks, but
yeah,
didn't care when it happened to Reggie Johnson. So David Parks doing the work, and back in action they go. Reggie Johnson, a champion, and is essentially self-managed. I don't think he trusts anybody anymore. In 8 professional years of boxing, he's had 4 managerial changes. But he's brought the Goosens in as far as promotional considerations. And now it is Lamar Parks looking into his corner to his dad, getting some instructions.
Lamar Parks is looking for help. If Reggie Johnson can see that and realize that, perhaps he has to lean on his corner, but now is the time he needs to turn it up.
Parks takes the head of Reggie Johnson right in the face.
Lamar is complaining to the referee. He's looking over to his corner, his dad, for help. Right now is a good chance for Reggie Johnson to steal this fight. But he's going to have to get busy. He's going to have to see it, and he's going to have to get busy.
You say that Reggie Johnson hasn't done enough. Lamar Parks, who comes in billed as a great power puncher, and now he picks it up, but he has not unleashed.
I think he's been pretty busy throughout this fight. There was 1 round. I've given 1 round to Johnson at the 4th round. The 5th round I called even.
And now Parks is going at him.
Here's Parks again, the same way he did earlier in this fight.
I'm talking about flurries. I'm talking about the combinations.
Plus the heavier blows. You know, against fighters with the heavier blows, you have to be more active to make up for their heavy shots.
Oh! Johnson gets in. Parks is wobbled here in the 9th, just as Parks was coming on.
We talked about the punching power of Parks. Reggie Johnson has some good power too. 20 KOs and 31 wins. You can't discard his power. Putting James Toney on the seat of his pants.
And the crowd chanting, Reggie, Reggie. Find out if this Reggie is Mr. October. 15 seconds left in round 5. Both fighters coming on. Both fighters scoring some big points here at the end of the 9th. Some of the action, and the best punch from this fight from Reggie Johnson. Watch this
left uppercut. Kaboom, there it is, right on the inside. See how Lamar Parks was leaning over? He was taking his eyes off his opponent. He brought the left uppercut. Good shot from Johnson.
In and out goes Reggie Johnson, the southpaw.
Johnson is a very good fighter. I'm just concerned that he's being lazy tonight.
Well, hard to contemplate in a world championship fight.
Well, these judges are looking for effective aggressiveness, clean punches, defense, and ring generalship.
Johnson has so much to be upset about coming into this fight. Relative unknown, he gets a defense in his hometown, national television, chance to show the world that he is not just the other middleweight champ, but belongs alongside of Toney and Julian Jackson. And he comes in as the underdog. You would think that alone would have him psyched for this one. But I don't know if I necessarily agree with you. Certainly not when we saw Virgil Hill and Frank Tate. I didn't think Tate came ready for that fight. And now a point has been taken away. A point has been taken away from, I believe,
that was
the
from
referee.
Perhaps that was for holding.
A minute to go in the 10th.
Good body shots. Reggie Johnson, good combination.
But no point was taken away. Just a note was made by the referee of an accidental butt. So if a fight now is stopped because of that cut, it comes under the WBA accidental butt rule. 3 complete rounds or less, it's a technical draw. If it's stopped, more than 3, you go to the scorecards. But right now, not really.
More of that tape
not finding a cut.
In the amateurs, they have a little elastic band that they put around your wrist after they tape it. I wish they would adopt that for the professionals. That keeps that tape from coming loose. However, that is a good time for the referee to step in and stop the fight momentarily, and a good time for him to check out and assess how the fighter is mentally. You know, he takes a look at the fighter's eyes. He maybe asks him a question. Just kind of see how the fighter is. And
10 rounds down and 2 to go. 11th round action. And that accidental headbutt resulted in a slight cut over the eye of, around the eye of Lamar Parks.
That cut over the left eye. Oh, and that's why. See both of them going in at the same time. You go in, you have to be very careful you don't run your face into your opponent's head.
After that exchange, it's Reggie Johnson who bounces away from Park. Lamar Parks, the 22-year-old out of Greenville, South Carolina. A couple other champions who came from South Carolina didn't win the crown while they were living there. A guy by the name of Joe Frazier. Of course, early on moved to Philadelphia. Mark Breland, who moved up to New York. The jab. Reggie Johnson gets it going. And again. Matter of fact, when Breland won the welterweight title, came back to Columbia, South Carolina, his hometown, to make his defense, and was knocked out by Marlon Starling. So Parks wins that. He may want to keep that in mind. Halfway through round number 11. Reggie Johnson, cagey fighter, and he has been successful 31 times with 2 losses. Finds a way to win, with the exception of the Toney fight. And may be banking on that now.
Well, he's a crafty fighter. He gets those punches in. He wastes very few punches. Look at the referee pulling those arms out. You get those arms tangled up, and you want the referee to break you. If the referee hits your arm, it keeps the fight going. Good job by McKenzie.
No knockdowns in this fight. Final minute of the 11th.
Oh, good combination.
Again, the tape coming loose of Johnson. Doesn't want the referee to stop it now. Johnson coming on. Final 30 seconds of round number 11. Two fighters have kept up the crisp pace throughout 11. Upstairs goes Parks. 11 rounds down and 1 to go.
It felt.
Crowd reacts to the final round for the Middleweight Championship, WBA style. Holding the crown is the man in the right, Reggie Johnson. Lamar Parks in the red, the challenger, coming into Johnson's backyard to try to take that belt away.
And what you try to do, that final round, you let it all hang out. You throw everything you got. Leave nothing in the corner.
Upping the tempo here in the opening seconds. Does that favor Lamar Parks, more of the puncher? Well, or does Lamar Parks have that tendency to maybe leave himself open?
It's going to favor Lamar Parks if he's ahead. If he's not ahead, it could favor Reggie Johnson. Now Reggie getting Lamar running after him could land some heavy shots, maybe make Lamar run into something.
Parks digging
there
to
is
the body.
that tape once again coming loose.
Oh, upstairs is Johnson showing the quick hands. And now the exchange in the middle of the ring in the 12th and final round. The middleweight crown could very much be up in the air as these two fighters enter the final round. Although Sean O'Grady feels that Parks is leading going into the 12th. These two fighters are literally unraveling here in the 12th round. And the crowd doesn't like it. They just saw this thing really start to steam up.
And now if you're in the corner of Lamar, you take your time. Give him time to recuperate.
You know, meanwhile, Reggie Johnson goes to the middle corner, but he has some tape coming off. He should have had some repair work done himself. You see it on the right wrist of Reggie Johnson. Johnson going side to side.
Now look at this movement from Reggie. This is frustrating. Lamar Parks can't hit him.
Sean, I'm sure you're thinking, where was this earlier?
Yes. I've been looking for this already. This is a Reggie Johnson that I've grown to like. You know, look at this movement from him. I think he took too many unnecessary shots earlier in this fight. He is an excellent boxer. He's got some good power, but his movement is superb. And you know what? We haven't seen that until this round. This is a good movement of Reggie Johnson.
"30 seconds on the nose in the fight. No knockdown so far. Johnson now feeling confident, doing some dancing, saving it for the final round. On Sean O'Grady's card, he's thinking Reggie Johnson coming out with the fancy stuff too late.
But these rounds are very close. This is a very good fight no matter who wins.
This was, as the bell sounds to end it, as Reggie Johnson still owned the WBA middleweight belt. They think so. Here's Everett Bigfoot Martin, also out of Houston, in the corner with half the city of Houston. Or did Lamar Parks take it away? We'll find out when we return for the decision. Up close and personal with champion Evander Holyfield and Riddick Bowe just days before they battle for the heavyweight crown. They'll discuss their styles, reveal their strategies, and also we'll take a look at Holyfield versus Holmes, and we'll take a look at Riddick Bowe versus Pierre Kotzer. We're off next week, Election Day, and we'll be back in 2 weeks. Lamar Parks bangs it out for 12 rounds. For the middleweight championship of the world, his first world title fight comes into Houston, the hometown of Reggie Johnson. The crowd here at the summit thinks that their guy has won this fight, and so does their guy. And so does Chuck Bodak, who is wearing Johnson's name on his head.
Some of that tape that Johnson should have had on his gloves.
That's right.
Good fight.
Well, this could turn into some scene if Johnson isn't awarded the victory. He looks very confident there, more confident than Parks in his corner about the outcome of the judges. And quite frankly, it is taking a while for the tabulations, which means a close decision.
Very close fight. Very close fight. Actually, Al had it 6-4-1 for Parks, but a lot of those fours, a lot of those early rounds could have gone either way. And, you know,
you sound like you're waffling here.
I'm waffling. Well, I learned that in this presidential election, Al. Waffling.
Lamar Parks has his undefeated record on the line as he goes and strives for a championship. It is a very close decision, and Jimmy Lennon Jr. now works his way free, and we will find out who is the WBA middleweight champ.
Gentlemen, after 12 rounds of boxing, we have a unanimous decision. Here are the score totals. Judge at ringside, Strange, scores about 115-113. Judge at ringside, Earl, scores about 116-112. Judge Ramos scores about 116-113. All three in favor of the winner, and still champion Reggie Sweet Johnson.
Well, Sean O'Grady, you didn't see it that way. Why do you think the judges did?
Well, you know what? In a close fight like that, this is the champion. He should get it. It's in his hometown, and you have to go out there and take the title away from the champion. Lamar Parks did not do that.
Reggie Johnson hands Lamar Parks his first defeat. Johnson, in his first defense, retains the WBA middleweight crown and now looks ahead to a rematch with James Toney or a fight with Roy Jones or Julian Jackson or maybe Terry Norris.